Hey guys, Books Nelson here, and today we are going to be going through, I don't want to call it a dribble tutorial. This is more of a lesson on how to master dribbling in the game, right? This is not going to be a controller in the side of the screen, putting the dribble moves on display, and the main reason is that doesn't work, right? There are a lot of really good dribbling tutorials as far as that goes on the internet. I'll put one in the description down below that I think is very good, but that doesn't work. And in this video, I'm going to do what I think does work based on me teaching in other areas, right? So I'm a professional artist, I'm a professional musician. Again, links in the description below so you guys can see where I'm coming from. In order to master those skills, it requires a certain approach, and I think that's what's missing and why most of the 2K community can't dribble. And I'd like to start this off with a question. What's the most important dribble move in 2K24? Now, that's not a trick question, but it does have a trick answer, and we'll come back to that later. So let's get right into the content. So first things first, like I said, this is about teaching you how to learn to dribble, not just teaching you how to dribble, right? And there's a couple of reasons for that. So this is, first of all, for almost. This isn't just my career. So I can't just go through the best moves for all of the attribute caps in my career, tell you how to use those moves so they are most effective, and then do that over and then, you know, end the video. Because in play now, you have to use what the players can do. And in my team, you have to use what the players can do, right? So the main reason people can't dribble in this game is because they don't understand the dribbling system and they don't know how to practice. And we're going to solve that today. So there's 3 phases to doing this stuff. And going from a person who doesn't have this skill to a person who not only has this skill, but performs it and enjoys it and has a lot of fun with it in their gameplay, right? And the 3 phases are learning, training, and implementation. After you go through those 3 phases, you enter the road to mastery. And I don't just mean as a dribbler, but on a move-by-move basis. You might have one move that you've mastered because you've put it through all of those phases. And the more you add to your bag, just like in real life, the more you'll be advanced as a player overall. You might be able to say you're a master dribbler after you've put together a whole bunch of moves. But in this game, if you master a few moves, you can be an effective dribbler. So this isn't a lifelong thing. It's not like art where I can say it'd take you a minimum of 3 years to be good at art, a minimum of, 2 to 4 years to be good at guitar. You can get effective 2K dribbling down, honestly, anywhere from as early to a week. I would say on average, maybe a month. But I think after a month of like seriously working on it, I don't think it would take much longer than that to really transform from a non-dribbler to a dribbler in this game. But in order to do that, you need effective learning methods and effective training methods. And we're going to go through all of that here and discuss exactly how to break all of this down as it pertains to NBA 2k24, but likely for all 2Ks going forward. All right, so we're going to go right from the top. We're going to talk about learning the dribbling in this game, right? So first, what's the process of learning? Learning is taking the unknown and transforming it into the known, right? So you're taking concepts, ideas that you don't know or understand, and you're gaining an understanding of them. So let's talk about that with 2K. And I'm just running Kobe Bryant in the background so something's on screen. We'll get into individual stuff soon. But again, if you don't have the patience for this right here and you just want to look at a controller on the screen, there are plenty of videos that do that and they don't work. So let's try to get to what does work. And what does work, and this shouldn't be controversial, is you understanding how the dribbling system works so that you can learn it and use it, right? Because a lot of the problems that people have when they're learning how to dribble is they don't understand what's happening when they make a mistake. So first things first, we're going to talk about the cardinal directions, right? Now, in real life, they're north, south, east to west, but in a basketball context, in a 2K context, it's north, south, ball hand, opposite ball hand, right? So that's what you're talking about in 2K. Can you move forward? Can you move to your ball hand? Can you move to your opposite ball hand? Can you retreat backward? And also, can you hit the 8-way angles of diagonal forward, ball hand, diagonal forward, opposite ball hand, and then the same thing for the retreating directions. So then you have the states that the player is in. What do I mean by player states? I mean literally, and for this we can actually get out of this and go to it. So the first player state you're in, almost certainly, is a non-dribbling standstill state, right? And from here, we all know you do your triple threat moves. Now, to get out of this state, you can either explode out of your triple threat moves, or you can simply click in left stick and begin your dribble. Here, you are in a standstill dribbling state, right? What's another state? Another state is a standstill performing a dribble move state. So now, anything you do is going to be affected by the process of animating through this dribble move, right? No matter what, and different dribble moves will give you different results based on what you're trying to do. So to give you an example, this is a standstill cancelable dribbling move, right? Meaning I can cancel this move by double throwing it, and it'll be something else. So at some point, I can enter that. But if I enter that twice very quickly, before the full dribble move comes out, that combo move will come out. But the first thing that has to happen is this move has to be done. But before this move is completed, the combo move will be brought in, right? And that's the same concept we'll see repeatedly in forms of like momentum dribbles and escapes and stuff like that. So you can also be performing a non-cancelable dribble move from this state. You can be in a running state, right? So any move you input while you're in this running state is going to be affected differently. Also, this running state has your shoulders turned, so the direction that you're facing the basket will be a factor here as well. So every dribble guide is going to tell you to put the right stick on absolute, but you can't put the left stick on absolute. So you're always dribbling relative to the camera as well as absolute, right? The right stick is on absolute, but the left stick is relative to the basket and the camera. And that's an important thing to know when you're learning moves, because that might be the reason that you're failing a move or succeeding at a move. You have the protect dribble state, which is very important. People like to get on the ball hand and blitz the ball. So from the protectable straight, you can perform dribble moves. And if you react to the person moving towards the ball hand, they will not get a steal on you before you do that. And learning what moves a character has out of this state is an important thing if people are applying serious ball pressure. This goes for all modes, particularly important in rec and stuff like that. But if somebody in my team's good at blitzing the ball, that's something you want to also be familiar with. I'm holding left trigger to protect the ball this entire time, right? And then you have moving state, right? So this is moving but not running, which again is going to affect your moves differently. And when you're performing moves, this will also control how you perform different things. For example, using Kobe, if I go to his Kobe dribble move, his Kobe push cross, going to this rest state as quickly as possible is what allows me to do this back and forth. If I try to do that while in a moving state, I'll get that, right? Which is not what I want. So getting to the standstill dribbling state out of any move you're doing is going to be a key to mastering a lot of combos. And then you have the combo state, meaning you're in the actual stage of comboing dribble moves. And what you'll find most often is this is where your like dial of combo moves will be. So I'm just inputting this over and over, and I stop pressing the controller and Kobe keeps doing it. He's in a combo state. He's actually in the state of doing the move. Depending on the move, this will also be a cancelable state. So this is a combo state, right? Like he's doing a series of moves that he's going to finish unless I interrupt him somehow, right? And I can interrupt him with a push cross. So then we have your dribble styles, which we covered here with Kobe Bryant a little bit. You have your size up dribbles. You have your combo moves, which we discussed a little bit. You have your cancelable moves, like escapes and stuff like that. And then, of course, what we discussed, your running state dribbles and your combo state dribbles. So when you go into one great example of the running state where it applies is in the case of what they call like the whoopty, right? That move right there. This move puts you in a running state. Kobe Bryant has two of the best running state moves in the game. So he has his running crossover, which is arguably the best one in the game. And he has this running behind the back, which looks a lot like the Trae Young kind of deal that pushes you forward. So if he does the whoop-dee, if I execute it properly, he's immediately in a running state and can perform his running state dribbles from that move. So if you combo a move into the whoop-dee, you can run immediately out of it, right? And you can get right to his move. So now, understanding the way the dribbling system works is how you can advance your dribbling skill, right? If you don't understand that, when you go to actually learn this, you'll when you go to actually learn it, you'll be making mistakes and you won't understand why they're happening, and you might get frustrated and stop. Okay? So now we're going to talk about training, right? So you can go to one of these other tutorials if you want. I'll cover some of the moves at the end of this one, but that's not the focus of this. The focus of this is problem solving your ability to learn to dribble in the whole game of 2K, not to teach you the best dribble moves and best dribble combos in the game. That's not what this is. So when you're learning, that's just digesting the information. Okay, here's how to do these simple moves, blah, 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 blah. But then you have to actually learn how to do them, right? So this is training. So we discussed that learning is the process of taking outside information and turning it into inside information. Training is the process of taking inside information and turning it into performative action, meaning you not only know it, but you can do it. And how do you do that in the form of 2K, right? How do you take the information inside your head? And this is most people's biggest problem, right? There are two big problems. We're going to cover both of them. One of them is they don't know how to take the information from the inside of their head and turn it into performance. So we're going to cover that right now. So I want to introduce you guys to the letters of the concepts of letters and words, right? So a single input move is a letter, right? This is a letter. This is a letter. You can imagine that as a letter. Once that single input move becomes a multiple input move, think of that as a word, right? So for instance, the momentum dribble is letter number 1 would be, say, the escape, right? And letter number 2 would be the left stick going in the up forward diagonal direction of the same escape. And that's your word. So it would be a short word like is or to, right? But if I was to spell out T-O rather than say to, it's a different thing putting to into a sentence versus putting T-O into a sentence. If I gave you a whole sentence of spelled out words, it would sound like gibberish. But if I give you a whole sentence of meaningful words, then the sentence overall can exist. And this is what's happening when you combine these things into a sequence, right? So the momentum dribble into the misdirectional escape is 2 words combined to make a sentence, right? So say the misdirection escape, how do you do that? You go hold right trigger behind the back. We'll call that one letter, right? It's one input using 2 buttons. So if you want to call that a word, that's fine. If you want to call it a letter, that's fine. And then the next thing you're inputting is the opposite direction, down diagonal, off ball hand, right? So that's the language of dribbling in the game. I'm going to say very commonly on ball hand, ball hand, off ball hand. So you're going ball hand, down backwards diagonal towards the off ball hand. And then you're going on the left stick, other direction. And then that would be another word. So now when you go through the learning process, you have to learn the letters first. Then you have to turn the letters into words. And then you can turn the words into sentences. And that's how you build up the ability to do complex sequences. So how do you practice this? You have to train your mind to turn these complex ideas, these complex like individual things into groups of words. And the way you do that is very simple. You slow down your practice to speed up your learning, right? Because when you try to do something that you don't know how to do, you can go into fight or flight mode. And you don't want to do that because that slows down the process of the brain. The brain thinks, oh no, you're running away from a bear. It doesn't think you're practicing something and I need to digest this information. So it's going to filter that information through survival, which is another recurring theme why people don't learn things. So in order to do that, all you do is you stop, slow down, and you take it step by step. Here's a key thing for 2K. Because of the cancelable windows, right? A lot of the things that you can do are timing based. So what I highly recommend is that you turn off the sound of your game. Don't listen to music in this stage of it, right? Don't do anything like that. Don't overdo your repetitions. What you want to do is just very slowly take it one by one. So we're going to talk about a very important move in the game, which is the escape, with the timing burst or the escape cross, whatever you want to call it, which is basically you do an escape and you combine that with running out of it, right? Now, if you listen to your controller, when you're learning this move, there's a space of time between the first input and the second input. So if you don't know how to do the move, you obviously don't know how long that space of time is. So when you first learn this, you're going to be doing it incorrectly. You'll do it too fast and get a momentum dribble. You'll do it too slow. Let's try and do it improperly. There, you'll do it too slow and you'll get a delay. Or in some dribble styles, you get a full out hesitation. Kobe has a really good dribble style, so it's kind of on easy mode for him. But in other dribble styles, if you mess this up, you'll get a hesitation, right? But if you do it at the perfect time, what you'll get is that clean burst, that clean explosive burst, which in this game, that's going to be the difference between success and failure, is that clean explosive burst. And we're just talking about one small word here, right? But if you combine this word with the L2 cancel, that's, like a longer, more complex word, or you can even look at that as like a mini sentence, bringing in the L2 cancel. So in order to practice this, you want to go step by step, turn off your sound so that the sound information can speed up your learning process, right? So if you have like music on or you're watching Netflix or something, you're not digesting the information of when that second click is coming in. You're not hearing the click. You're not hearing that rhythm. You're only working visually and by feel. And that's less information, which means slower learning, right? So as you're getting this training process down, that's the process you want to go to, and it's foolproof because nothing in this game is super duper complex. But because it requires timing and waiting, some of the stuff has a difficult barrier to entry. Anybody who's a good dribbler in this game will tell you, once you get it, it's not hard, right? That's the difference. Is like, there's certain, say, guitar solos or Street Fighter combos that are always difficult, even after you master it. This doesn't fall into that category. This is one of those things that once you really get it, you kind of don't mess it up often anymore, right? But in order to really get it, you have to really take your time and follow that process. Another practice tip is when you're practicing like this, what you're doing again is you're taking this information and you're transferring it into performance. So don't go too long and don't do too many reps. You want to go about 30 seconds to 3 minutes max. Stop, let the information digest into your mind, and then come back to it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the next day, doesn't matter. That's just according to how quickly you want to learn. But that's the process, is you get in here and you say, okay, I'm going to work on whatever move you're going to work on. So this is an important move to work on. So I do recommend this being one of the moves. Once you're past the absolute beginner level of dribbling, definitely start working on these escapes, right? You say, okay, I'm going to work on this escape and I'm just going to go left and right. And if you mess it up, that's perfectly fine. Because what you're not trying to get into repetitions yet. That's not what this phase of training is. This phase of training is just learning exactly where the flaws in your technique are and eliminating them, right? So all you want to do is perform it and listen to the subtleties of when you're too early, when you're too late, right? That's what you want to get down. Too early, too late. Look at the animation, listen to the rhythm of the stick, get all of that information being downloaded into your mind, and I promise you, you will absolutely get this in a reasonable amount of time. It's just a matter of how often you want to practice. If you want to do it sooner, then do it 2 minutes every other hour in a day. You want to take it later, you do it 2 minutes a day. But you will eventually get it. It will become a rhythm that you're used to. Now, so what's the next step? So now you understand how to do whatever combo of moves you're trying to do, right? Whether it's the misdirection or the the escape moves, whatever it may be, you've got it down. You can perform it repeatedly. Now you go into the repetition phase. This is where you're taking it from your conscious mind and you're putting it into your muscle memory. So this is a very often used term that people sometimes overuse. What you're doing is you're taking this and you're turning it into a shortcut in your autopilot. You're saying basically, brain, press that button. And in your mind, this is now one button. Again, whatever the move is, it's just one button in your mind. It's back. Your brain has now taken this information and almost turned it into a simple word like we discussed before. And now you can just say that word over and over and over again, all the way up the court. And what happens is now the repetitions put I don't want to say stress, but they eliminate the little wrinkles, because when you're really able to focus on it, you can maybe do it every time. But as soon as you stop thinking, you start messing up, then you start to find the little problems that you have from doing the repetitions. For the repetitious phase, I recommend a longer practice, right? So this you might want to do for 5 minutes straight. Just do the one move for 5 minutes straight over and over, and self-correct as you do the move. Going up the court in this game mode, just like this. You just keep self-correcting you just keep self-correcting the move until it gets into your muscle memory. Once you're at this stage, it's not too long before you really have the move and you can start doing it in the next phase, which we won't address just yet. Actually, no, we will move on to that phase. But what I want to emphasize here is don't have your cortisol raised, right? Don't be in panic and fight or flight mode like, I need to do the move. Lower the effort. Calm down, get into analysis mode, and just listen for those differences. And if you can't get it, it's fine. Take a rest. Your brain might be processing what's wrong, and you might find, oh, why can I do it all of a sudden? The mind is a wonderful thing. Allow it to work for you. Don't try to tell it, how to work for you. The mind is already created to make learning easy. That's how humans got to the point of making crazy things like simulation basketball games. All right, so what do you do once you've got moves into your muscle memory? Now you move into the implementation process, right? So you can reliably perform the moves without thinking. Now you have to actually learn how to use the moves. Here's another process where people mess up, because what a lot of people do is they want to be really good players and really efficient players while they're also learning to be a different player. That doesn't work efficiently. It can work over the course of years if you play all the time, but it's not an efficient way to learn. The efficient way to learn is to make a ton of mistakes and do the move way too much when you play the game. And this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, the game environment is different when you're playing online and when you're playing against a person. When I say different, all of those dribble states we talked about, when someone's playing defense on you, you didn't practice with that in that situation. So this is like an extended practice when you first learn a new move, right? This is an extended practice where you're saying, okay, yes, I'm playing a human online. Yes, I prefer to win than to lose, but my goal here is to get used to taking my muscle memory and having it work in a live environment. And then goal number 2 is to collect data. See, if you try to take a move, like say again, the L2 escape or the cross escape or the L2 cancel or whatever it is, and you try to do it only when it works, there's 2 problems with that. Number 1, if you haven't been using the move, you don't know when it works, right? You have a guess, and your guess might even be pretty good depending on how often you play the game, how good of a player you already are. But that guess is still not a substitute for actual in-game experience according to the rest of the parts of your play style, right? And number 2, so you're collecting the data according to your own terms also, because the rest of your game is what the rest of your game is, but now you're bringing in this new element and you're trying to force it in, so you're rapidly getting a whole bunch of scenarios. That's your goal, is to get as many scenarios as possible where you perform the move properly. That's your win, where you see whether or not the move works, and then you move on to the next phase. So you make a ton of mistakes doing this, which is great, because those mistakes are data. Data is your friend, right? And so the next part of this is reviewing that gameplay. So you go online, you play against people who are not cooperating with you. They're trying to beat you with this perfect, it's like the Danger Room and X-Men, except, you know, it's free, right? And so you go on and you use this move, you see how good you are at it. Once you're performing it, that's a win. But now you're seeing it works here, it doesn't work there, it works here, it doesn't work there. And you're gaining as many of these scenarios as possible so that you can become efficient with the wealth of information, as opposed to having a whole bunch of blank scenarios and trying to pick and choose. It's way better to shoot a million arrows than it is to shoot one arrow every once in a while when you're learning something new. So review your gameplay. And then the last part of this is reviewing the gameplay of really good players, right? That's the other thing, is reviewing the gameplay of really good players. Because even though they might have a different style than you, what you want to do is you want to watch their games once just to watch the game, right? Absorb it as a 2K player. And then you watch it again and you do, you know, the Kobe Bryant detail thing, right? Where you're analyzing it and you're learning things on a situation by situation basis. So just like we talked before, turn off the sound and just watch it. You don't care what the score is. You don't care who's playing. You're just looking at high level players and going, oh, they did this here. That's an interesting idea. Oh, I don't know how to do that. I'll work on that move next. Ah, here it worked perfectly. Here I would have done something different because I approached the game differently. That's what you do when you're reviewing top player footage. And then the next time you review your own footage, you can pick up a whole bunch of things. And this will teach you to think like a dribbler, right? And that's what puts you on the road to mastery, is you learn the moves, you train the moves, you implement the moves into your game, you correct your mistakes by reviewing footage, and then you're on the road to, and you look at other top players' footage as well. Now you're on the road to mastery. So now we are to the video where we will actually talk about the actual moves themselves and how to use the moves as a dribbler. So we went over some of the basics, but let's discuss these types of moves. So you have quick attack moves, right? Moves that are basically, I'm initiating and going one direction. So this is where your dribble style is going to be a major factor, because some dribble styles have really good ones, like Kobe. He can literally just run forward. So if Kobe's standing still, he's a threat, automatically running forward at an angle. He doesn't need anything. Now, he can still do a hesitation cancel. How do you do that? In some dribble styles with some hesitations, you actually don't even need to hold turbo. Kobe doesn't need to hold turbo. So this is just a hesitation move, holding the same side ball hand with the right stick directly to the, so here I'm going directly to the left. I'm pressing 9 o'clock. And in the other hand, I'm pressing 3 o'clock. But I'm canceling that by turboing out of it, right? And I might be putting in the turbo so fast that it's counting as a turbo hezi. So this is an escape hezi. So this is holding right trigger. And, you know, same thing, right trigger 9 o'clock. And this is right trigger 3 o'clock, right? But I'm running out of that so fast that that's never happening. Now, again, with Kobe, I do the hesitation move first and then turbo and run in the same direction. And he goes with that quick burst, which is faster and more explosive than his dribble style, than just, you know, running forward, but that still works just as well. Those are your two primary ways of just running forward. So then you have your counter attack, right? Well, actually, before we go to your counter attack, your first attack can also be going to the opposite ball hand. So as we covered, your escape cross is your most explosive move. This is why escape dribbles are so important, because that's the fastest way from point A to point B, is having a really good escape like Kobe definitely does. Kemba escape, Trae Young escape, Jimmy Butler escape, and Kevin Durant escape I think are all good. Pro is okay as well. All of these escapes, you should be able to, you know, explode out of them as long as you get your timing burst proper. You also have your push cross and your dribble styles going the other way. You've got your momentum dribble. Now, the momentum dribble in and of itself is not the best way to change directions. But if you're coming out of certain moves, the momentum dribble is better than others. So we'll cover characters that do that well. But for now, I'll stick with Kobe. And those are the main two ways that, in the case of Kobe Bryant, who he is a very, very good dribbler in this game. He's a unique dribbler, so he takes more time to learn this character. Kobe has a lot of unique stuff. But yeah, so same side, you can just run. If you have the right dribble style, which again is why that SIG is so important, you can also hesi escape. You know, you do your hesitation, you cancel it by running out of it. And then opposite side, you got your push cross, you got your momentum dribble, and then you've got your escape cross, right? And you can also, there's some behind the backs that you can go opposite side as well, right? Your behind the back dribbles. You also have some of the unique crossover, like attacking crossovers. You can go the same direction as well. And the way you perform this, you're holding turbo, and you're going to either 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock to the opposite ball hand. So the ball's in my left hand, so that means it's 2 o'clock, right? Let's try that again. That's 11 o'clock, and it's more like 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock is more accurate. So once you do that, you let go of turbo and you just hold the left stick and you can run immediately out of it, right? So when you're comboing up, this is an option you have, is to, you know, you master that. Again, that's another word, right? It's you're holding right trigger, you're going 11 or 1 o'clock, but then you have to release that right trigger and get to the left trigger. Because if you don't do that at the right time, you won't run, you'll do a stop or you'll get a bad animation. And then the other thing is, once you do release that, you want to be able to input whatever other dribble move you're trying to do, right? So say you have that move going on and you want to go to his other crossover or his behind the back, or, you know, if another character has it, maybe you want to go to their snatch back, whatever it may be, or even just turboing forward, right? Getting back on that turbo and just running out of it, right? You want to be able to get to that move clean and fast and hitting those cancel windows as efficiently as possible based on what dribble you're trying to do. So that's your first attack. First attack, ball hand. First attack, opposite, off ball hand. Then you have your counter attack moves, right? So this is basically, you've gone in one direction and you want to stop and go in another direction. Now, this is where the advanced dribbling tends to be more of a factor, because the most efficient ways to do this are the L2 cancel combined with a good opposite ball move. And for that, we'll go to Tyrese Maxey. So Tyrese Maxey has the Jamal Murray behind the back, which is one of the, if not the most effective move in the game at creating a three-pointer. And so with Tyrese Maxey, as long as he's running in one direction, you can L2 cancel and counter move to the other direction, right? Very, very powerful technique, because the defender doesn't know if or when you're doing it, and it happens so fast that with a quick jumper, it's very difficult to react to. This is basically the entire meta of my career, is getting into moves and then coming back the other way and then pulling up with that. And with the Jamal Murray behind the back, this is a cancelable move that you can repeat as well, right? So when you attack with these characters, you can get into that Jamal Murray or you know, a snatchback as well, and you can combo them left and right and get your counter moves going. So there are a lot of counter moves in the game. We're not going to get into all of them, but briefly, some I want to talk about are basically the L2 cancel, which again I break down in the Danny Green video. And since this is a dribble tutorial, we'll break it down here as well. So this is where you're doing an escape move, right? You're running out. Well, you don't have to start with an escape. Really, any run is going to solve the problem here. Any run is going to solve the problem here. Of once you're running in a direction, once you're in a running state, you can hold the left trigger and it'll act as a brake, right? Left trigger act as a brake. So once the left trigger is your brake function, you can come out of that with the whatever move you want to do. The most popular moves are the escape and run in the other direction. The between the legs escape works just as well, right? And the Jamal Murray or James Harden behind the back going in the other direction. So that's the function of the left, you know, the L2 cancel, is you run, cancel, go the other way. And you speed that up until the cancel is happening so quickly that it's basically instant and very, very difficult to react to. And you can do this back and forth. You can do it out of any combo. It's one of those things that once you truly master it, it absolutely can be a dominant weapon in the game if you have the right amount of dribbles, which is why people put so much emphasis on those moves. And then you have your feints and your mind games, right? So this is where something like the escapes come in. even the Jamal Murray is such a good move because it also works as a mind game because you can work left and right. And this is where you're giving your opponent the opportunity to defeat themselves, right? Where you're saying, I want to sell you on me doing something. I want you to react to it, and then I'm going to do the opposite, right? So it's not the same thing as a counterattack because you didn't establish your attack yet. You're basically pretending you're going to establish your attack by making them react to it. So this is where a lot of your size ups and your combos come from. Am I going to burst out of this? Which way am I going to go, right? And this, in my team, this is going to vary from card to card. Even in my career, there's a lot of different combos that work really, really well. So, you know, this is the reason I have the channel, is because my team is so varied. It's impossible to teach you guys, oh, these are your counterattacks. It's going to depend on the card and what they have available to them and how they're trying to score, which leads into our next thing, which is leading to scores, right? So the most efficient ways to score in this game are obviously your pull-up three-point shot off of a standstill, your moving shots, right? And your stick dunks. So, and this is how you answer the question of what's the most important dribble move in the game. It's really the move that leads to your most efficient form of scoring, right? So for a slasher character, it might be a behind the back like that Kobe, right? For a dribbler, it's going to be the Jamal Murray behind the back. If you don't have the Jamal Murray behind the back, maybe it's the Harden, maybe it's your escape. Whichever move the card has that makes their main form of scoring available to them is the most important dribble move that card has, or player has, whatever, my career player. And it's the thing that you're trying to lead into, right? That's your knockout punch. You're saying, I'm trying to get you to believe something else, and then I'm going to my bread and butter, L2 cancel into Jamal Murray into jumper, you know, escape into behind the back into stick dunk, or just escape into same side explosion. I'm going to hit the spot and I'm going to stick dunk on you. That's why you're dribbling, is to set those things up. Or even screens, right? I'm dribbling to get you to run into a screen so that I can go the other way. You know, that's also another way these things work, to take it out of the isolation context. So that's the whole thing of how to learn dribbling, how to think dribbling, right? And how to use it to lead into scores. And as far as the moves themselves, we went over a good amount of the core moves in this game. But understanding the dribble states and what you're trying to get to, that's the important thing. In terms of the moves themselves, if you guys have an individual move that you're struggling with, I'll be happy to make a video breaking down that individual move. But again, in terms of just learning the moves, there are plenty of tutorials online with a controller in the corner. And I think the reason those things don't work is because of the rest of the content of this video. Knowing how to approach that information, turn it into, put it through the filter of learning, training, implementation, and then mastery. That's what most people are actually struggling with the dribbling. But before we go, I will leave you with a suggested step-by-step of how to build this skill set, all right? So number one, I think it's most important to find a dribble style on a card that you like if you're playing my team or whatever your my career player is, and learn the dribble style. This is the simplest thing in your bag, is literally just moving left and right and knowing how to do that and come to a rest state and change directions efficiently depending on what the dribble style is. And I'm actually going to take a break and give some different examples here as well. I want to show this with different cards. So for instance, Nikola Jokic, right? He has the pro dribble style. So effective with him because he has one of the best leaners in the game. He also has some of the best step backs in the game as well. So we talked about important dribble moves leading into your kind of kill move. For him, that's a kill move. Like once you master that release, this guy can hit this shot in any situation at the highest level on the hardest difficulty in the game. It's a very easy shot for Jokic, and he puts the ball so far back that it's very hard to contest. So when I made my pro dribble style video, I talked about how that's really the only move you need with him because of how effective it is leading into his kill move, right? So just learning the pro dribble style. So here I'm, backwards, down diagonal towards the off ball hand with the left stick and coming to a rest state and being able to escape as quickly as possible. from that dribble move and change directions. But also he has the Dwayne Wade size up, right? So let's look at that size up. This is Dwayne Wade's behind the back. This is his crossover between the legs going 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. This is his crossover going 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And these moves are fast and combine really well with the pro dribble style. So we talked about those feints. If you've been, doing this to people and just going into the jumper right away, now when you add that one dribble style, it changes your rhythm and opens you back up because you can sell that you're going left or right. And with Jokic, that's all you need. And then you combine that with the fact that he has one of the cheesiest floaters in the game. He can do his floater from like 20 feet away, I think. Let me see. Yeah. So he does his floater from about 18-ish feet away, which you can also do out of this. So he can lean, he can float, he can step back. Oh, and by the way, he can also he can stick dunk out of it as well. So with Jokic, the most important move is the pro dribble escape, because it leads to every scoring opportunity he possibly has, right? You can take that escape into anything. And then that combined with his size up is literally all you need to score on Jokic. And this is a card I've taken online, and every game mode I've played with him online, I've scored with. But also this is something people do a lot in the rec as well, right? So that's a great example of taking a dribble style and using it in a particular way. Let's look at another dribble style real quick. LeBron James, right? So LeBron James is a great combination of skills. So LeBron has his own dribble style, which is very similar to pro, right? Same thing, he's got this backwards cross. With a card that's this good at slashing and this good at leaners, this is an incredible, skill set to have. But here I want to introduce you guys to a more advanced concept, which is doing that out of other moves. So LeBron has an elite snatchback and an elite hop back. So if you were to attack with LeBron, right? So you're gonna explode same side, and he has a decent same side explosion even without doing a hezi, right? But awesome with the hezi. You come to a little bit of a rest, right? And you do that hop back. And now you take that forward momentum and you immediately turn it into backwards momentum. And then, so that's one counter, right? So then LeBron has that into another counter of going into the LeBron dribble style, and he can easily switch directions, or he can continue to go the same way with the hezi escape. This is why I love LeBron James cards so much in this year's My Team, because his dribble style combined with this hop back, combined with his shooting and slashing ability, I think those moves are the only moves you need. All you need is his hezi burst, his opposite, side escape move, push cross, and you're good to go, because he has one of the best layup packages in the game. And this was kind of a mini LeBron James tutorial, but you combine those things and LeBron James is absolutely phenomenal and doesn't need much else to score, and just like he doesn't have the best size up in the world, it's good enough though that you can work with it and figure out which move of the size up dribble you like the most for changing directions. And this is another thing where the combo moves come into play, right? Because depending on the combo moves he has, it's going to change what size up you have access to. And we'll talk about the combo moves as well in cancelable windows. So Ja Morant is a great example of a card that takes some figuring out, because on the one hand, he's got this move right here. Now you guys might not know about this yet. Some of you might, but it's not really popular in my team because Ja has a really bad behind the back. He has a really rotten escape, really rotten cross escape. So there's no obvious way to use this move because the way this move would normally be used, you see he goes to the right there. When the ball goes up into his left hand, he can immediately cancel that the same way you would an L2 cancel. And depending on the moves you have, it launches him it would launch you in the other direction. So keep your eyes out for that combo move. But this is why my team is so unique compared to my career. Because in my career, I just put on the Jamal Murray and call it a day. He does that move, put on the Jamal Murray, I'm exploding out of it, I'm good to go. But with Ja, what I found was that he can do his double move out of that, right? Which saves it. So it's like, okay, I can at least use that as opposed to it being completely useless based on his other stuff. And we know from what we discussed that out of this double move, you can run out of that, and go right to the basket. You can also snatch back. A snatch back is not great, but you can do it. So that's one move I have my eye on going forward, right? So the same thing goes for every dribble style. You got to get in there with the dribble styles and look at the combinations. And again, this is really difficult to my team, which is why I do card breakdowns, because in my team, there's endless combinations of what might be good and not be good. This is why I do not just look at 2KDB and tell you guys this card sucks, this card's good. I need to get in there and see what the card has, because these are combinations in a brand new 2K that no one is really exploring, because most of the dribble people are over in my career using the same animations over and over. There's more of a variety than in past years, but it's still not to the point that it is in my team, where you can literally get every single combination of moves depending on the cards that you have. So I think that about wraps it up. If there's anything I missed in terms of learning to dribble and what you guys are struggling with, if that's not solved in this video, I'll be happy to make another one. This is a complex, advanced skill set that you're building over the course of time. So I'm more than happy to go on that journey with you guys, go move by move, card by card, and continuing to elevate the skill set and the discussion in the My Team community, which is one of the chief goals of this channel. Thank you so much for all the support, for rocking with me. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.